My name is Rano, and if you're new here, I do pencil drawings. This video is about frustration that we feel towards other creatives, or envy or jealousy, and it's really difficult to find B-roll to put over that. So I've decided to just use an artwork that I actually think speaks to these themes quite well. And I'm just going to show the drawing process from start to finish to kind of entertain your eyes while I'm trying to articulate something which I've really struggled with a lot in my career and a lot with my artistic practice. And I'm hoping that the message still comes across clearly. This video is sponsored by Squarespace as well, which I'm incredibly grateful for, but I'll tell you more about them later. Do you ever look at an artwork or someone doing something creative and think, I should just stop trying right now? They've already achieved everything I could have hoped to achieve and they're so far ahead, there's no point in me trying. Or those feelings of, why didn't I think of that? Or the frustration of seeing someone making a lot of money and feeling like it's just really simple, or that you could have done that. There's a lot of shame around these feelings, and I don't think artists really want to express those feelings too often. I feel them all the time, and this envy or jealousy is something that plagues artists in particular. And there's some pretty clear reasons for that. One of those being that artists often tie a lot of themselves to their work. So it's harder to separate the rejection or the perceived success of another artist as a failure, not just of your work, but of who you are inside. I shamefully feel envy for artists who could afford to go to university or whose families supported them financially while they were getting off the ground. And if I let it, I can really get upset about how unfair all of that is, and then lose sight of how lucky I got with my own work. There's this never-ending pit that we can go down, and in some cases, it can ruin people's careers. But our relationship to jealousy and envy doesn't have to be one-dimensional. There's ways that we can transmute it into something that also motivates us. There's two types of envy that artists often feel. One is benign envy and the other is malicious envy. Benign envy motivates. It's self-improvement. It's, I'll work harder and I can learn from them. The malicious type desires to pull others down. It's got narratives like they don't deserve it and it's unfair. I think acceptance is one of the first steps, knowing that it's part of being human. The feeling of someone who we just perceive as better in some way, or someone who started off at the same level as us and then experienced a quicker rise to the level of success that we're hoping to achieve ourselves, that can feel like a threat. And this is rooted in the idea that there's a finite amount of success to be had in the world, and someone else experiencing that success takes away from our chances of experiencing that success. And to a degree, there's truth in that. There's only so many spots in a competition for someone to win, or in a residency program that you're applying to, or even on the walls of a gallery that you're hoping to get into. But the trap here is that we can view all of these moments as an end goal and forget to zoom out and view this all as a process. And because artists or creatives are drawing on their inner worlds, it adds a level of complexity and sensitivity to that rejection. Failure can often leave us angry, and imitation or plagiarism might become more justified in trying to break through. We can promise ourselves that we're only going to do it for a little while until we break through, and then we'll go back to doing our own thing afterwards. But this often isn't the way that it happens. We tend to grow in the areas that we put our intention to, and if we're putting our intention to just making money and duplicating work that we see is already successful, we're not putting intention and growth into developing that inner narrative or that vocabulary of metaphors that describes our inner world that we would then draw upon in our own work. And this is a trap that can be bred from those feelings of frustration, envy, anger, and shame. By the way, if any of these things feel familiar or resonate with you, I invite you to share them in the comments. It's a really helpful way to see that maybe you're not completely alone in these feelings that are usually kept in the dark. There's a lot to learn from our unique versions of creative envy. In writing this, I found some insight from Freud, who proposes to consider that envy becomes a mirror. It's easier for us to feel like all of these feelings have more to do with other people, and we kind of miss out on the opportunity of what these things are sharing about ourselves. I'm incredibly grateful for the envy that I had towards my two closest friends in high school and their technical and artistic ability. I've spoken about it quite a few times, but I became so competitive with them, trying to strive to be as good, if not better. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have laid down the foundations that I needed to in order to build my career. And I think that that's another important antidote to these feelings. Gratitude towards what we have already achieved, or furthermore, gratitude towards other creatives who are pushing boundaries that we can then observe and jump off of, or deepening the well of creativity for us to draw on. This gratitude feels like it immediately stops the poison of creative envy. And being able to ground ourselves in our body, or being able to rediscover that sense of play and exploration in our work, can also transmute those feelings and bring us back into a state of flow and play. This is really helpful if it's harder to look at how it might be a mirror, or harder to do the psychological work. We can just use our bodies to bring ourselves out of that uncomfortable state. Feeling jealousy or creative envy is kind of just part of the process. I think we'll go for long periods of our lives where we don't feel it at all, and we think we've overcome it, and then somehow it'll be invited back and we have to refamiliarize ourselves with this old friend, which is just a part of who we are. It's a practice that I have really enjoyed, trying to demystify and just feel like it's part of who I am, and something that just motivates me and pushes me to be the best or most authentic artist that I can be. And you can only strive towards those goals. It's something that I'm not sure if you'll ever fully achieve. But I hope that me sharing this can also just help some of you dismantle that fear or the shame if you're experiencing this in your own practice. Yeah, let me know in the comments. Before I end this video though, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in sponsoring these videos and helping me maintain this channel, but early on in my career, I was looking for a way to showcase my work and make it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I didn't have time to learn HTML and try and build a beautiful, reliable website. But I found that Squarespace did all of this effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them and set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use the offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. There you go. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on these things. It's really quite scary to just broadcast this to the world, but I think it's important that we share these thoughts. So yeah, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.